Today, we are going to be focusing on fluency instruction. Many people believe that accuracy and rate are what makes fluency, but there are other things that also have to go into it, including expressiveness and phrasing and comprehension connection. Fluency is also all about practice, as practice leads to fluency. It's an ongoing process which affects reading throughout all levels. And a student can be fluent in one text but also not be fluent in another text. What occurs in fluency is that you start out a little wobbly, and then as you read connecting texts, you become more accurate, and then you become effortless. There are four different instructional methods that you can use to increase a student's fluency, and these include independent silent reading, assisted reading, repeated oral reading, and integrated fluency instruction. Independent silent reading is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you read silently to yourself. This encourages students to read independently both in and out of school. It's important to give students many opportunities to read, especially poor students, so this is a great thing for them. And it also helps build confidence and a positive attitude towards reading. Assisted reading is a method of instruction that focuses on modeling and then practice. So, first we have teacher assisted reading, which is when the teacher models and shows students how a fluent reader reads. And then the student sees the words as they hear them. And then we have peer assisted reading, where students take turns reading aloud and then also giving corrective feedback to their peer. And this provides motivation and support. And then we have auto assisted reading, which is when students listen to a recording of a story and follow along on their book. This should be done at a student's independent reading level, free of sound effects, with accurate prosody, and be slow. Repeated oral reading is again exactly what it sounds like. It's when a student rereads a text out loud until they reach a desired level of fluency. This they can have benefits from reading it 3 or 4 times, and it's good to create a purpose for each reading. So, for example, the first reading you could find the main idea of the text. The second reading you could find the important ideas, and the third reading you could take notes on what you were reading. Integrated fluency instruction is when you combine all three of the previous methods. So it's a combination of repeated oral reading and teacher and peer assisted reading with independent reading. And this can be done with any core reading program. So you use the texts that come with your core reading program in your classroom to provide opportunities for oral reading, teacher and peer assisted reading, and independent silent reading. Finding a level of text difficulty for a student is very important in order to foster fluency. In order to do this, you're going to select a short passage, and then the student will read the first 100 words. As they read, you're going to mark the errors that they make, and then you'll use that number to calculate their words read correctly and the percentage of words read correctly. And then you'll compare that to the percentages listed below, which are under the independent level, instructional level, and frustration level. For the independent level, you want to have 93 to 100% accuracy, which means no more than 3 errors. Instructional level, you want 90 to 96% word accuracy with 4 to 10 words incorrect. And then at the frustration level, you want less than 90% accuracy, which means more than 10 words incorrect. Now I'm going to have you practice finding a level of text difficulty. So with a partner, please determine the level of text difficulty for each of the following passages in the link. So first you're going to read the passage out loud to your partner. Then your partner will mark any errors, which are mispronunciations, omissions, substitutions, transpositions, or hesitations. And then you'll calculate the words read correctly by subtracting the number of errors from the total number of words. And then you'll calculate the percentage by dividing the number of words correct by the total number of words. And then you will compare your percentages to the text difficulty levels to figure out what level of difficulty the text is for you. Fluency instruction should focus on practice as practice develops fluency. With teacher assistance, students should focus on accuracy, rate, and prosody, which can be intertwined through reading instruction. Choosing texts at the correct level for each individual student is imperative as fluency develops when students practice reading with a high degree of success. So, there are many different methods you could use in your classroom. One is reader's theater, which is when students rehearse as a group and present a presentation read aloud, and it is focused on prosody. And then you could also use partner reading, which is peer supported and motivational in order to build fluency. And then we also have timed repeated oral reading. This helps increase automaticity in reading at a student's instructional or independent level. There are many ways fluency instruction can help multilingual learners. So, the first is fluency oriented reading instruction, which is repeated reading of a text from a core reading program, followed by independent silent reading practice, both in school and at home. And it has been effective with multilingual learners. And then there are a few other things that multilingual learners can benefit from, which is shared book reading, focusing on a theme to develop background knowledge, beginning with texts that use active voice instead of passive voice, and giving them plenty of opportunities to reread text. It is very important to assess fluency throughout the year, just to make sure students are being fluent enough to comprehend what they are reading. Student fluency should be assessed at the beginning of the school year and should be monitored at least 3 times per year. Progress monitoring should be more frequent for students who are not making adequate progress. If students are testing well below what should be expected, teachers may need to move to more diagnostic assessment to determine the specific area of weakness. There are a few different assessments you can use. You could use DIBELS Next, which is a screening and monitoring assessment, Easy CBM, which is a screening, progress monitoring, and diagnostic assessment, and Core Literacy Library, which is a screening and progress monitoring assessment. At your next grade level meeting, I would love for you to please discuss ways that you could integrate FORI into your instruction. Before you leave, please fill out the following exit ticket, and thank you so much.